It's been a lovely video. Today, and I've had this idea floating around for a while, is that we're going to discuss about how Bendy in machine actually kind of correlates with the Walt Disney Company. And again, as a legal disclaimer, I have to say that I'm not dissing the Walt Disney Company in like any way, shape, or form. This is just like my thoughts and just a theory, nothing else. And I guess comparison, but yeah, mostly just like my thoughts and just again another wild theory that I have. I guess it's not too out there once I think about it, but still, it's just a theory. So calm down, okay? Please, I don't want any videos eliminated all of a sudden. Even though I think I've had that happen before, but that's another story. Long story there, but anyways, here we go. And first, I'm going to set in sections. First, I'll say what is Bendy Ink Machine, or is Walt Disney, even though people already know about Walt Disney production and stuff. I'll explain anyways, and how these two can even correlate, have any parallels whatsoever. So let's get into the first section. For those who don't know, Bendy Ink Machine is a horror survival video game that is divided into 5 chapters, and just like any chapter video game, these chapters came out over a year or so. Yeah, a year. Current copyrights, anyways, over a year from 2017 to 2018. Yeah, so I'm guessing like every few months or so. That's what it is usually for chapter games. Is that they usually try to pump them out every couple to few months or so, depending. Even 6 if it's detailed or not, but usually every few months or so. Chapter video games like that. So yeah, and in this game, you are you're an employee at an animation studio, and a friend. I'm not sure if he's a friend or acquaintance. Anyways, some good, yeah, a friend sends you a letter and says, "Hey, come by the animation studio," which is called Joey Drew Studios. And then you realize what happened to the studio is the fact that it is overrun by ink, and there's a reason for this, since unfortunately Joey Drew, the head of the studio, really kind of messed with the spectral realm essentially, and basically summoned demons to possess the ink or whatnot, something like that. But basically, what he really wanted to do was literally bring cartoons to life, and unfortunately, he had to summon the devil in order to do so, and it just gets all screwy from there. Though it's a great game. It just wow, it gets insane. But then you also kind of realize, I believe, that you're kind of one of the ink blob things as well. So, and that's just crazy. But either way, all employees unfortunately got poisoned with this demonic ink and stuff. And unfortunately, well, you're actually both trying to survive and escape the animation studio, along with helping out your fellow employees as well. So, yeah, there's that. It's one crazy game though. One crazy game, but great. And now on to the second section of this video. Now, Walt Disney, not the oldest company in the world, but definitely one of the oldest still surviving animation studios still out there. There may or may not be older ones, but definitely Walt Disney has been the most famous, and definitely the one compared to most. Even though there's definitely animation studios out there that actually push the boundaries of animation way more these days than Disney. I feel like Disney definitely kind of sick. But anyways, okay, back to actual facts. And the studio itself has been around since at least the 1920s, and back then it was originally called Disney Brothers, since it was founded by both Walt Disney and Roy Disney. And Disney's Old Lords, basically, he was the creative, or the summarize anyways, basically Walt was the creative guy, and then Roy's the one that actually got the studio money, pretty much, since, yeah, Walt's the creative side and Roy was the financial side. And it's just been around since late 1920s, with their most famous hit back then anyways was Steamboat Willie. Still a pretty famous cartoon. And then it kind of hit some economic troubles after a while. And sadly, during World War II, especially early years, a lot of workers went on strike, and then a lot of those workers that went strike got fired. And Then like Walt was just in confusion mode of like what to do, and then he just became more invested in like other stuff and back and forth between like parks, and then like back into the movies again. Which for a long while, especially from the 1950s through 70s, they began to invest more energy into live action movies. Since, according to Walt, sadly, he thought that nothing could beat Snow White, really. So after a while, he just kind of gave up early animation and just went more into live action. Even though Walt admittedly said um, something to the effect of "You wish you could make movies," such as to Margaret Bird, who's just like, "That's what I should be," but I'm known for this thing of making it's usually family friendly stuff, and yeah, because he actually really wanted to push like the boundaries. Like, I'm sure if he ever saw the original Willy Wonka movie, I'm sure he'd be like, yes. But yeah, he passed away around like 60s, 1966, or in there, due to a fortunate smoking problem he accumulated because of stress and stuff. So, and that's what Walt Disney Studios is. With Joshua has several branches, of course. Even back then, it had several branches. There was the studio. At one point, there was even like the studio, and then the other part that dealt with the theme park. So even back in the 50s, 60s, there were like several um, sections of Disney as well, along with the part that even dealt with the TV part, even though Disney Channel didn't exist back then yet, and they were mostly doing ABC, CBS, and other stuff. But yeah. Anyways, and that's Walt Disney Studios. And now, time to get to the part where somehow these actually two somehow correlate in the weirdest way possible. Now, like I said, Joey Drew Studios as the head of Joey Drew, which I guess could be compared to Walt Disney, but Walt Disney didn't have like the biggest, interest in women. It was a coincidence. Even had a wife, it seemed like, but he loved his wife and all. Just became kind of a weird coincidence, really. That he even had a wife because honestly, he was just so drawn to the studio. He barely paid attention to like anything else really when he founded his studio and stuff. And that's what separates Walt Disney from Joey Drew there, at least person wise. Because Joey Drew just seemed, how do I put this, kind of good people, but also a flirter at the same time. So he was just kind of weird from the get-go, Joey Drew, to be honest. But he tried to be good in his ways. Well, it just seemed like also he was also in denial, especially. Yeah, there's these parts where like you can press a cassette recorder thing to play cassette, and it'll play the cassette, and then you realize the more cassettes you play, you realize what's really happening here is that the studio was kind of really going downhill even before he decided to do the summoning devil thing and stuff. It was the studio was honestly a mess, especially with the fact that he was flirting with this one like voice actress, this one character, and then that just became a whole big deal. And yeah, that was just a mess. But anyways, the thing that really connects these two is the fact they are both animation studios, and they did start as animation studios, and also just like Walt Disney. Joe did have the idea of an amusement park, and along with definitely a propensity for putting their like name on things, and to be honest, for a while, that's what Walt Disney did. Is that like my name should be my name on this thing, and they realized that didn't work out so well because the animators definitely on their names on it. It's like, hey, we can, we're the ones that actually made it here. Come on now, but anyway, so then Walt Disney was like, okay, cool. After a while, so but yeah, and there's also the fact that after a while, Walt Disney did found this theme park, Disneyland, which in the game it's called Bendy Land, and I'm not sure if it fully came to fruition because all you see is like design and stuff. So I guess they probably had the idea for the park. It's just it seemed like never fully came to fruition before the whole demons running the studio kind of thing. So yeah, that's one thing. So yeah, unlike Disneyland, Disneyland seemed like never fully came to fruition. Just had like ideas for it, sketches and stuff that you see throughout the game, but never fully came to fruition. It seemed like before the whole studio went just absolutely bonkers. I mean, also one thing is that definitely after a while, you could tell definitely just Walt Disney was the boss. Same thing with Joey Drew. You know, I feel like Joey Drew kind of went more creepy with things. I feel like in how he was running the studio in the first place, and yeah, even though Walt Disney himself like gave him like church about because the studio was his biggest thing. Yeah, I don't think Walt Disney would ever do that kind of shit. To be honest, he wasn't that crazy. Like, sure, he may have had some anger issues, but you know, in his position and stuff, and the high position that he was in, it just kind of obviously it's just a millionaire, rich person kind of thing. Sometimes, though, at the same time, he was mostly quite reserved, a quite reserved person, and just didn't really talk much unless it was about ideas he had or like whatnot, and was very like laid back Midwestern, good old Midwestern um, Midwesterner. So fun times. But anyways, back to the original topic. And with Georgia Studios, their mascot seemed to be definitely Bendy, a lot to kind of like how Disney's mascot was definitely Mickey Mouse, even though like there was definitely a big difference between the Mickey Mouse when it began and the Mickey Mouse you know now. And a lot of people more loved the original Mickey Mouse because he was just crazy and like all over the place, and definitely more what a cartoon is and stuff. What people think of cartoon. In fact, they probably still even use as an example in a lot of animation studios. To be honest, there. But yeah, both Walt Disney Studios and Georgia Studios definitely seem to have like a lot of tension going on within the studio, especially with Walt Disney after the strikes and stuff. Definitely was a lot of tension and like distrust, especially. So yeah, that's definitely another thing there. Definitely a lot of tension within the studio, especially with Dojo Studios just being like run down a lot of time and a lot of like cutbacks and stuff, which was what Disney had to do and stuff. Even though Rory was the one that realized what had to be cut back, and Walt Disney himself was like, "But show you now," because yeah, that's why I hated partially hated the strike stuff and having to fire a lot of employees because honestly, he just wanted like quality art. Really, that's what he wanted. He wanted quality art, and that's what he thought animation was a form of high art. And Finish definitely is a great example of how it can be high art. But at the same time, though, when that first came out, actually, there was a lot of people complaining that it's like this is kind of pretentious a bit. But yeah, so yeah, there's that. Definitely, both had its own form of tensions. Just Dover Drew, I think, studios definitely went the extra mile of insanity there and stuff. So yeah, thankfully, well, Disney never got to like that point, but there was definitely tension in the studio and stuff. Just sometimes it gave boiling over and like just yelling arguments and stuff, but it never got to the point where all Disney wanted to like summon demons and stuff. Thankfully, that never happened. So just some weird stuff happened, but not to like that point, thankfully. I think that's about it. About my theory of like Bendy kind of being a metaphor for like Walt Disney Studios. That's like as far as I can go. To be honest with that. So I'll definitely see you guys in the next video.